Peace and black power. Peace and black power. Peace and black power. Ashe, we up in here. This is the Prince of Pan-Afrikanism, kingkongconsciousness, notorious RBG, the most requested black scholar in the world. I am here. I am here. I am here. Brothers and sisters, I only want to keep you for about an hour's worth of time today. I'm going to keep you for an hour. The subject is tomorrow's first annual. The subject is tomorrow's first annual Revolutionary Pan-African Nationalist 21-day spiritual fast. There's a lot of brothers and sisters from around the world who will be partaking in this most necessary event with us. And they ask that I go live and just give them a couple of ideas and a little bit of structure as it relates to how they can follow along and participate in this fast. So that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about. Podcast family, the next episode will be coming up soon. The next episode will be coming up soon on my assessment of the entire protest movement. Rest in peace to George Floyd. I salute those brothers and sisters who protested. It definitely was not done in vain. Had they not protested, those police would not be in jail. Had they not protested, we would not have this national conversation. We would not have this international outcry against police genocide. So for those of you who are saying the protests were and are a waste of time, you are totally incorrect. You are totally incorrect. Protests have always had a role in the black liberation struggle. The only problem is when all we do is protest. Okay? The problem is when all we do is protest. Okay? Yes, mistakes were made. Contradictions are always made because we are human beings. No one is perfect. What are some of the contradictions? Contradiction number one. There was never an identified leadership team. That was problem number one. So there was no way to know which protests were authentic versus which protests were not authentic. There was no way to know whether you were marching with undercover FBI agents, if you were marching with undercover police, if you were marching with coons, or if you were marching with your brothers and sisters. There was no way of knowing that. No way of knowing that. No way of knowing that. Okay? Another contradiction. We never communicated our demands as black people to the power structure, to the government. We never did that. We couldn't do it because there were no identified spokespersons. There was no leadership team. There was no articulation of demands. No articulation of demands. No articulation of demands. Okay? And since there was no articulation of demands, we allowed the white power structure, the U.S. Senate, the U.S. Congress, the 50 governors, we allowed NAACP, Black Lives Matter, and other European-funded institutions to become the mouthpiece of the grassroots struggle because we were disorganized. Let me say it again. We were disorganized. The protests were disorganized. They were effective, but that effect has had a ceiling. They were effective, but that effect has had a ceiling because we were disorganized. And so right now, most of the protests are dominated by Europeans at this point in time. They are dictating the narrative. The United States government has remixed this into a publicity campaign to remake its international image, and they're using black people to do it. Here's my biggest concern. Here is my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that we, brothers and sisters, my biggest concern is that we cannot make the same mistake we made with the election of Barack Hussein Obama. We, my brothers and sisters, cannot make the same mistake we made after the passage of the Voting Rights Act. We, my brothers and sisters, cannot make the same mistake we made after the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Bill. And that means that we should not. That means we should not be celebrating gains that we have not received. We should not be celebrating anything right now. Why are we celebrating? What have we received? Why are we celebrating? We celebrated Barack Obama when he got elected. And for the next 8 years, you got nothing. We celebrated the Voting Rights Act. And over the past 50 years, we've seen it get dismantled. We celebrated the Civil Rights Bill. And over the past 50 years, we've seen that the provisions of that bill have been rarely, if ever, enforced. And now we're celebrating a protest that has not culminated in any transformation of American society. The criminal justice system has not yet transformed. The culture of policing has not yet transformed. Yes, those police were arrested, and we credit the protesters for that. But they have not yet been convicted, and they have not yet been sentenced. What are we celebrating? We have a bad habit. American Africans have a very bad habit. You have a bad habit of letting your oppressor off the hook. You have a bad habit of letting your oppressor off the hook because you are so quick to celebrate before you received anything. Let me give you an example. Let's say we're throwing a child a birthday party. We're going to throw our child a birthday party. Okay? And the child is at the house waiting for the cake, waiting for the ice cream, waiting for the cookies, waiting for their gifts, waiting for the Stevie Wonder happy birthday song to play, waiting for their friends to show up. And they wait and they wait and they wait. And the whole time they celebrate. The whole time they in the house celebrating. Today is my birthday. Today is my birthday. My friends are coming. I got cake. I got ice cream. I got cookies. I got gifts. But guess what? The cake never shows up. The ice cream never shows up. The gifts never show up. The friends never show up. That's Black America. That's Black America. You don't celebrate an announcement. You do not celebrate a pronouncement. You do not celebrate a declaration. You celebrate the substantive gains that are to come following the announcement, following the proclamation, following the declaration. We have gotten nothing and we're celebrating as if it was a victory. We have gotten nothing, and we're celebrating like it's a victory. White congressmen are walking around Capitol Hill with kente cloth on. Who told them they could put on kente cloth? Why do they think black people are so easy, so weak, that all they have to do is put some kente cloth on? To identify with your pain. They love to identify with black pain, but they never do anything to alleviate the pain. They love to identify with black pain, but they never do anything to alleviate the pain. So they're wearing kente cloth. Young white students all around Philadelphia with the Black Lives Matter sign. Young white students all around Philadelphia with the Black Lives Matter sign. Do you not know that they're still racist? Do you not know that? Do you not know that they're not marching for the same reasons you're marching? They march with Dr. King 250,000 strong in 1963 at the March on Washington. This is not a new phenomenon. And then after they marched, they went back home and business continued as usual. The business of racism. The business of racism. They were there because they were bored. They were there because they wanted to get out the house. They were there because they wanted to partake in black culture. They were there to protest the direction in which their government is headed. They were not primarily there for justice for black people. If you believe that, you've lost your mind. So let me get this right. Michael Brown, there was some there, but not like that. Trayvon, there were some there, but not like that. Sandra Bland, Walter, Tamir, Philando. We can go on and on and on. They were there, but not like that. So all of a sudden, they just woke up one day and said, let's stop practicing racism. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. One of the most brilliant features of white supremacy is it is a psychological genius. Racism is a psychological genius. Racism has a way of confusing its victims so well. Racism has a way of confusing its victims so well that it never has to get around to destroying them. Racism has a way of confusing its victims so well that it never has to get around to destroying them. How do you put that much effort and that much energy and that much time? 2 weeks of protests. No structure, no leadership, no demands. 2 weeks of protests. No structure, no leadership, no demands. When you do that, you leave the onus on your oppressor to tell you what the changes are going to be. So Nancy Pelosi, Congresswoman Pelosi, decided to articulate what it is we need, because we never did that. We never articulated what we needed. We got distracted with police taking a knee. We got distracted with the chief of police marching with us. We got distracted, so we never got around to articulating any demands. So Congressman Pelosi and the other Joe Biden presidential candidate opportunists decided to tell you what you're going to get. So they have a police reform bill. They have a police reform bill that includes an end to police chokeholds. That's a good thing. It includes police lynchings are a federal hate crime. That's a good thing. It includes an end to the no-knock warrant, which should have never occurred anyway because it's a constitutional violation of unwarranted searches and seizures, but that's a good thing. But then I see stuff like we're going to keep statistics on police brutality. That's not going to change anything. And then I see something about cultural diversity training. We want to train the police millions of dollars to make them less racist. There's no training that can do that. There's no training that can do that. There's no training that can do that. And then I'm looking through all these provisions and I don't see any punishments, federal punishments clearly define what happens if you use unjustifiable force or if you unjustifiably murder an innocent, unarmed African American. I don't see any punishments in the bill. The whole purpose of the protest was police accountability. The entire purpose of the protest is police accountability, but yet The Police Reform Act doesn't include any accommodations for police accountability for murder. What good is the bill then? What good is the bill then? What good is the bill if you're not going to spell out consequences for police? But then again, they don't have to because they took a knee. They pulled a Colin Kaepernick in your neighborhood. They took a knee. They pulled a Colin Kaepernick and took a knee. And so now we forgot about holding them accountable because they understand our oppression. They can now identify with the plight of the inner city African American. So there's no punishments in that bill. It's a waste of time. A waste of time. And then you allow the Europeans to come in and dominate your marches, dominate your program, your protests, water the whole thing down. It's watered down. Oprah is having a town hall television meeting on where do we go from here. Did you see the lineup that Oprah has? Have you seen the Negroes that they're putting on television to talk about race in America? Every single black person I have seen on TV to date is a privileged, middle to upper class, well-placed, well-connected to the power structure African American. Every single one. Oprah Winfrey got preachers, politicians, movie producers. Preachers, politicians, movie producers. And then you got the brother who played Martin Luther King in Selma. You got the brother who played Martin Luther King in Selma. He wasn't raised in America, and he's not even married to an African woman. He's not even, now if he was married to an African woman and he grew up here, I don't care if he was born here or not. We're all one race, one African family, but he wasn't raised. He don't know what police brutality in America is. He didn't live that. Why is he speaking on that? And then on top of that, he don't even have a black wife. Oprah Winfrey, not serious. And then I keep on seeing Van Jones everywhere. Van Jones, Van Jones. No disrespect to Van Jones. Intelligent, articulate brother. But you're married to a white woman. You cannot represent us, brother. You sacrificed that when you chose her. It's not a hate thing. It's a loyalty thing. This is not hate. This is loyalty. Van Jones' white wife. She didn't even invite Michael Eric Dyson and Cornell. Don't get me wrong. They soft as butter, but at least they will raise issues in conversation that is relevant to the black reality. At least they will raise issues in conversation that are relevant to the black reality. I'm going to say it right now, and I know y'all not going to like me for saying this. But I am not interested in anybody's popularity contest. I'm going to give it to you straight. And the truth of the matter is, we squandered an opportunity to force the black agenda on the table of conversation the right way. The right way. The fact that people are protesting all over the world over our brother George's death, we respect that, but that does not automatically change anything. Attention to an issue does not change it. If attention to an issue does not change it, if attention to an issue would change it, there would have been justice for Trayvon. There were protests around the world for Trayvon. If attention to an issue mattered, Sandra Bland would have got justice. If attention to an issue mattered, Philando Castile would have got justice. If attention to an issue mattered, little Tamir Rice would have gotten justice. Simply putting attention on an issue, locally or internationally, does not change the power dynamic. It doesn't. Millions of white people marching for you doesn't automatically change nothing. Thank you, Japan. Thank you to the UK. Thank you to the Caribbean, to Africa. They stood with us as Pan-Africanists should. We thank them. for showing their concern. We appreciate that. But the work must be done by us. The changing and the transformation must be done by us. But we never had a black agenda to go with the black protests. We never had a black agenda to go with the black protests. We never had a black agenda to go with the black protests. And you know what I think? You know what I think? You know what I think? And I'm not going to repeat anything I've already stated on the previous live stream. You can find it on YouTube somewhere. I think there was a deliberate strategy in place to make sure no black agenda ever got articulated. They kept the protests focused on George Floyd. Rest in peace. They kept the protests focused on George Floyd, and they went out of their way, the media. They went out of their way to make sure we didn't make this a systemic issue. They kept it on George. Justice for George. Justice for George. Justice for George. And let me be clear. George and his family are entitled to justice. Our hearts and condolences go out to them. They enjoy all this attention. And he is entitled to the justice. We want those police officers to spend the rest of their lives in prison. Yes, we do. But my point is this. George deserves all this attention. Yes, he does. But here's my point. George Floyd was part of a larger community of American Africans. And George Floyd suffered police genocide, which is an extremely common occurrence in the American African colony. And because George was a symbol of a much larger problem, we should have put a spotlight not just on George, but on the entire problem. We did not do that. We did not do that. We did not do that. We're starting to hear a little bit about Breonna, Ahmed. They're in there. So now you have 3. But what about the thousands of others? They made it a point to make sure this remains a one-man, one-case situation. A one-man, one-case situation. And the reason we cannot take George and Breonna and Ahmaud, we couldn't take those 3, that trinity, we couldn't take that and expound it to the system and the structure of racism because we never put a black agenda with the black protests. We squandered an opportunity. We squandered an opportunity. We squandered an opportunity. We squandered it. We squandered it. Marching without, we should have had demands everywhere. What if we would have sent a list of demands to the Japanese protesters and a list of demands to our UK brothers and sisters and a list of demands to our African brothers and sisters, and now everybody knows exactly what black America needs? We never did that. We just kept on marching and we kept on letting the coons and the Caucasians articulate the agenda. We just kept on marching and we kept on letting the coons and the Caucasians dictate the agenda. We kept on marching and we just let the coons and the Caucasians dictate the agenda. It was always not lost because, like I said, had they not protested, those police would have never been arrested. They would have never been arrested. It's a good thing. I commend the protesters, brothers and sisters. Do not get me wrong. I commend those brothers and sisters who was out there in the street. I'm simply saying we could have gotten way more out of this had we been organized. I'm simply saying we could have gotten way more out of this had we been organized. With that being said, I want to talk about the fast. Tomorrow morning, if you live on the East Coast, the fast will begin with sunrise, 5:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4:31 p.m. Central Standard Time, so forth and so on. We got brothers and sisters in Africa who I believe will be fasting with us. I believe we got brothers and sisters in the UK who will be fasting with us. We've already got a lot of brothers and sisters here in the United States who will be fasting with us. Brothers and sisters in Central and South America, Canada, the Caribbean islands who will be fasting with us. Let's talk about it. This 21-day fast. Why do we fast? Why do we fast? We fast for three main reasons. The number one reason for a fast is a spiritual detox. A psychological, spiritual, and a physical detox. Fasting is a period where we disconnect from all addictions. We disconnect from everything we are attached to. A fast is a spiritual opportunity for you to shed your skin like a snake. You shed your skin like a snake. So when the snake sheds its skin, when the reptiles shed their skin, anything that was attached to that skin will die with the dead skin. So any addictions. Some of you have an addiction to white supremacy, white culture, addiction to white girls, addiction to weaves, addiction to marijuana, addiction to food, addiction to shopping, addiction to sex, addiction to social network, addiction to television. Now is the time to purge. It is a spiritual detoxification. It is a spiritual detox. All addictions you have to give up now. If you like them 5'5", thick in the thighs, fellas, you got to detox from that voluptuous body. This is 21 days where we're going to focus on our divine connection to the Most High. For these 21 days, we're going to focus on our divine connection to the ancestors. For these 21 days, we're going to connect with our spirit guides because we're going to go through a lot this decade. COVID is just the beginning. The co-optation of the Black protest movement, that's just the beginning. 2020, this decade will go down in history. This is just the beginning. We're not even 1 year in this decade yet. We've only 6 months in the new decade. 6 months, and we done already had COVID, international global quarantine, pandemic, and we've already had the most significant Black protests since the assassination of Dr. King, and we're not even 6 months into the new decade. So we want to get serious. I want to connect with the Most High, with the ancestors. That's the purpose of this. This is not a religious fast. This is non-aligned. It is not religious at all. That means if you Muslim, you can join us if you want. You Hebrew, Nawapian, God and Earth, Nation of Islam, whatever you are, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah Witness, you can participate if you want. This is about the race. This is about the global African family. That's what this is about. We are God's chosen people. God's chosen people has decided to offer a fast to the Most High in exchange for guidance, in exchange for strength, in exchange for victory, in exchange for leadership. So we first fast to spiritually detoxify. To spiritually detoxify. That's the main reason we fast. To shed all that is not essential. To shed all that is not necessary. To eliminate all the distractions in our lives. And the second reason we fast. As you're fasting every day from sunrise to sunset. As you're fasting every day from sunrise to sunset. And you will be challenged, brothers and sisters. You know why? Because we're fasting during warm weather months. So if you live on the East Coast, your fast begins at sunrise. Sunrise tomorrow on the East Coast is 5:31 a.m. Sunset tomorrow on the East Coast is 8:30 p.m. Do you know what that means? You're going to be fasting for 15 hours. No food of any kind for 15 hours. You are allowed to have water and tea. That's it. No smoothies, no shakes, water and tea from sunrise to sunset. That's what we're doing. Water and tea from 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. sunset. That is 15 hours. Do you have the spiritual strength? Do you have the self-discipline to go 15 hours in the warm weather with no food? That's what we're doing in the name of African redemption. That is what we're doing in the name of Pan-African unity. That is what we're doing in the name of our Most High, the supreme individual, one cosmic force of all creation. That's what we're doing. Yes, you can eat after 8:30. Yes, you can eat after 8:30 when you break your fast. Yes, water in tea, no coffee. Water in tea, no coffee. Sunrise to sunset. So number one, we fast to detox. Number two, we go 15 hours with no food, struggling all day. And that energy that we use, that energy that we're using to discipline ourselves, we give that to Almighty God. All that energy, all that struggle of not eating, of not having sex, of not listening to non-progressive music, not being on the internet all day, not sitting around playing cards and smoking weed. It takes energy to fight your addictions. It takes energy to fight your attractions. And so you take all that energy, all that ashe, and you say, here, Lord, this is my offering for day one of the fast. Here, Lord, this is my offering of day two. Here, Lord, day three was very tough on me, Lord. Here's my offering, my ashe to you, Lord. And as I give you this energy of struggle, I ask that you take it, Almighty God, and transform it into divine guidance. Transform it into spiritual enlightenment. Transform it into grace for so me and all other Africans in the world, not just in America, but my whole African family can be blessed by this offering that I'm giving you of my energy. Take this, Lord, and give me something better. Take this, Lord, take my ashe and transform this for the benefit of me, my family, my race, for freedom, struggle, and redemption. That's what we're doing, brothers and sisters. That's what this is about. This is not in the name of Muhammad, but we respect that. This is not in the name of Jesus, but we respect that. This is not in the name of Moses, but we respect that. This is in the name of African people. We are God's first children, and we don't have to use nobody's religion and nobody's holy book to go to our Lord. The Bible is 2,000 years old. African culture is 200,000 years old. The Quran is 1,500 years old. African culture is 200,000 years old. Why would I put 200,000 years of God science to the side and let you give me a book and say everything you need is in this book and forget about the 200,000 years that my people have been building a relationship with the Almighty? You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. I'm not giving up $200,000 for $2,000. You're out of your mind. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to something. Okay? Okay? The third reason for this fast is so that we can regain spiritual and psychological clarity. The third main reason for this fast is so we can regain spiritual clarity and focus on our own destiny, our own personal mission, and what it is we're supposed to be doing for the global African community. If you come on here pushing your religion, I'm going to block you. We respect your religion, but this is not religion. This is spirituality. Don't come on here with your 2,000 years and your 1,500 years. It is no challenge to our 200,000 years. Be respectful. Don't come on here. See, the problem with religions is they are spiritual dictatorships. The problem with religion is they are spiritual dictatorships. The problem with religion is they are spiritual dictatorships. And the problem with spiritual dictatorships, the problem with spiritual dictatorships, the problem with spiritual dictatorships is you think you have a right to dictate how everybody builds a relationship with the Creator. No human being, listen to me, No human being has a right to dictate to the entire planet how you are going to worship and build relationship with supreme consciousness. I do not believe in spiritual dictatorships. I do not believe in spiritual dictatorships. Religious dictatorships, spiritual dictatorships, whatever you want to call it. I'm not against religion, because guess what? While I'm fasting, I'm going to be reading some of the chapters of the Bible. I like some of the chapters in the Bible. Oh, yes. I got a Bible right here. I ain't got no problem with you Christians. Here you go, Christians. Right here, I got a Bible for you. There's a couple chapters in here I like. There's wisdom in every spiritual text. But no spiritual text has all the answers for everybody. Let me say it again. There's wisdom in this book. Yes, I will concur. There's wisdom in this book. But there's no spiritual book that has all the answers for everybody. That's all I'm saying, brothers and sisters. You want your Quran? Here you go. Here you go. You want your Quran? We got your Quran. You want another Bible? We got your Bibles. I ain't got no problem with. I got a couple surahs in the Quran that I like, that I'll probably be reading during my fast. There's wisdom in this book, yes. There's wisdom in these books. I even got the Bhagavad Gita. I got the Gita. Okay? The Song of the Lord of the East Indian tradition. I might even read some Gita. I might read some Buddha, Dhammapada. But let me explain something to you. For me, my primary texts are not these. These are secondary for me. These are secondary for me. My primary texts are the Holy Odu Ifa. This is my primary text. This is my primary text. Okay? This is my main book. Yours might be the Bible. Yours might be the Quran. Yours might be the Gita. Yours might be the Torah. These are mine. These are mine. And so I'll be reading a little bit of all of that. I'll be reading a little bit of all of that, brothers and sisters. Now let's get back to the fast. It begins tomorrow. The fast, if you're fasting with us, begins tomorrow on the day that the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey died 80 years ago. 80 years ago. The most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, greatest black leader of the 20th century, who gave us this flag, who gave us this flag, the universal African flag. He left this earth on June the 10th of 1940. And so we chose the day he ascended. The day he ascended to the Orun. The day he ascended to heaven. We begin the fast on the day that the greatest Pan-Africanist of all time left this planet. And then we will fast for 21 days, no food or drink except water and tea from sunrise to sunset for 21 consecutive days until July the 1st. And on July the 1st, we celebrate the date that Ghana became the first independent post-colonial republic on the mother continent. July the 1st is the date that Ghana became the first independent post-colonial republic on the continent. So as you can see, there's symbolism here, brothers and sisters. There's symbolism here, brothers and sisters. Okay? Okay? This is, some of you can only think in terms of your religion because you're so narrow-minded. You think that fasting began with Abraham. You think fasting began with Moses. You think fasting began with Jesus. You think fasting began with Muhammad. African people been fasting for 200,000 of years before any of them were born. But you're narrow-minded. I understand and I forgive you. One day you will come into your African consciousness. But we begin with the Garvey's ascension and then we end with Ghana's ascension, 21 days. Now let's go into this a little bit deeper. The first 10 days of this fast will take place under the zodiac of Gemini. I want to give you some Western astrological references only to root you in. We are under the sign of Gemini. The first 10 days of the fast will be under the sign of Gemini. What do we know about Gemini? In the West African tradition of Ifa practiced by the Yoruba of Southwest Nigeria, Gemini is the twins. The Gemini sign is the twins. The twins represent the balance of darkness and lightness, the balance of masculine and feminine, the balance of good and evil, the balance of land and water, the balance of sun and moon. When you're dealing with Gemini, you're dealing with the duality. And not only are you dealing with the duality when you deal with Gemini, you're also dealing with what? Coincidences. Two things occurring at once. Coincidence or divine synchronicity. Divine synchronicity. So the first 10 days, we are dealing with that energy of Abeji, that energy of the twins, that energy of communication, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication. So we're dealing with spiritual communication, which causes synchronicity, which causes divine coincidences. That's the first 10 days. And then on the 11th day, we get a divine gift from Almighty Olodumare. We get a divine gift from Almighty Chukwu. We get a divine gift from Almighty Amun-Ra, Allah, Jehovah, whatever name you want to use, because any name, because there's no one name that works. Olofin, Olorun. Any name you want to call God, as long as it's out of respect, it's fine with me. You can't choose one name. Okay? On the 21st of June, we have an annular solar eclipse. On the 21st of June, we have an annular solar eclipse. An annular solar eclipse is when, an annular solar eclipse is when the moon gets between the earth and the sun. The moon gets between the earth and the sun. And the reason it's called annular is because it's not a total eclipse. The moon does not totally block out the sun like it does in a total eclipse. With an annular eclipse, the moon will block the entire sun except the outer ring. The outer ring of the sun will still shine through on Sunday, June the 21st. The outer ring of the sun, it will look like a ring of fire. That's what they call it. An annular solar eclipse is a ring of fire. So it will be an annular solar eclipse. And the reason eclipses are so powerful, brothers and sisters, and you are correct, that eclipse takes place on the first day of Cancer. That eclipse takes place on the first day of Cancer. And what is Cancer? Cancer is a sign that is ruled by the moon. The Leo is ruled by the sun. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon is the symbol of divine feminine energy, the feminine divine. So this June 21st eclipse is bringing into manifestation the great African divine feminine principle, which is why I hope so many of our African sisters join in with us during this fast. You sisters really need to, because that eclipse is taking place on the first day of Cancer, ruled by the moon, which is divine feminine energy. The moon is related to intuition. The moon is related to astral travel. The moon is related to clairvoyance, the ability to see before it happens. The moon is related to clairaudience, the ability to hear spirit. The moon is also related to clairsentience, the ability to feel spirit. You ever walk in somewhere and you can feel the presence? You can feel an ancestor. You can feel a spiritual guide. The moon is over that. The moon is the symbol of Orisha Yemoja in the Ifa tradition, who represents divine female energy. So this is a very sacred time. This is a very spiritual time of this fast. The middle of our fast, we have a solar eclipse. And guess what? Guess what? The last time we had a solar eclipse in June, an annular solar eclipse in June this century, we're dealing with the 21st century. We're dealing with the 21st century. The last time we had a solar eclipse in June was June the 21st, 2001. I want you to think for a minute, where were you at and what was going on in your life around June of 2001, 19 years ago? That's the last time we had a solar eclipse during the month of June this century only, for these first 20 years. 2001 June, you know what I was doing? 2001 June, Dr. Umar Johnson was finishing up his pre-certification school psychologist intern with the School District of Philadelphia. June of 2001, the Prince of Pan-Afrikanism was finishing up his school psychologist internship with the School District of Philadelphia. In other words, for me, when I think of June 2001, the last time we had a solar eclipse in June this century, it was right before I took off as a school psychologist. It was right when my career was about to start. So do you know what that means to me? I don't know, but when we fast, I'm going to ask the Most High. I'm going to call on the ancestors. I'm going to have the Babalawo ask Ifa. I'll cast my Obi shells. But if the last time we had a solar eclipse in 2001, I was about to take off and become the greatest black school psychologist in American history, if that's what happened the last time we had a solar eclipse, that means this time I'm about to take off again. And you about to take off with me. Every last one of you, if you take advantage of this 21-day fast, your life is about to go in a greater direction, a higher direction, to a stronger vibration. And I think for me, this eclipse is signaling the advance of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I believe this eclipse is signaling that you've done your school psychology work. You've done your international Pan-African organizing work. Now it's time to open up that school for our boys. That's what this means for me. That's what this means for me. So you got to find out what was going on in your life June of 2001, because life is a cycle. Life is not linear. Life is a cycle, brothers and sisters. Life is a cycle. What was going on in your life June 2001? Was it good? Was it bad? What type of thing? See, in my life, it was a shift. I was shifting from graduate student to professional school psychologist. I was shifting from graduate student to professional school psychologist. I was shifting from graduate student to professional school psychologist. So I'm about to shift again. I'm about to shift again. But when I shift this time, okay? I'm about to shift again. But when I shift this time, I won't be going from graduate student to school psychologist. I'll be going from school psychologist and most requested black scholar in the world to principal and CEO of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. So you start off in Gemini, your first 10 days. Then the eclipse is dead smack in the middle of the fast. Do you think that's a coincidence? The eclipse is dead smack in the middle of the 21 days, and we shift from Gemini energy, which is a light, good-natured, communication, synchronicity, coincidence, duality, companion energy. And then after the eclipse, we shift into Cancer energy. Great divine African mother energy. Great divine African mother energy. And so from June the 21st to July the 1st, you got to go real deep. June the 21st to July the 1st, you got to go real deep. From June the 21st with the eclipse until the end of our fast, you got to go deep. Because the moon represents shining light on darkness. Darkness doesn't mean evil necessarily. Darkness represents the unknown. In the European system, darkness is evil. In the European system, darkness is evil. In the African system, darkness represents the unknown, not evil. So the moon shines light in the dark to help you open up your third eye so you can see your destiny clearly. So you can see your destiny clearly. And the element of Cancer is water. You know what that means? The element of Gemini is air, but the element of Cancer is water. The element of Gemini is air, but the element of Cancer is water. So the first 10 days of the fast, you should be outside in the air. You should go for walks. You should go jogging, walk, breathe in that air because communication comes through the air. Orisha Oya, transformation, leader of the Agungun. The ancestors travel through the air. So for Gemini, communication, synchronicity, you want to be outside. You want to be out in the world to pick up on the energy. The first 10 days, the first 10 days of the fast, you want to be outside. Okay? First 10 days, you want to be outside. The last 11 days, Cancer, you can still go outside, but Cancer is about going inside. It's about the inner space. The inner space. It's about understanding the inner space so you can properly interpret the outer space. Cancer is about going in. It's the moon going into the unknown of self to shine a light on the darkness of yourself, the unknown, so you can come back out and understand the relationship between your inner space and your outer space. I hope I'm making sense. Now, the eclipse on June the 21st will begin on June 20th at 11:45 p.m. But the maximum eclipse, the maximum point, the apex of the eclipse will be 2:40 a.m. on Sunday, June the 21st. What should you be doing at 2:40 a.m., maximum point of eclipse? At 2:40 a.m. on Sunday, June the 21st, all of you who are fasting with us, at 2:40 a.m. on Sunday, June the 21st, you should be in prayer to the Most High, or you should be in meditation to the Most High, or you should be chanting to the Most High, or you should be pouring libation to the ancestors. At that very moment, you need to be in communication with the divine energy. Do not miss that moment. 2:40 a.m. on Sunday, June 21st, solar eclipse in Cancer, great divine feminine energy. You need to be in communication with divine energy. And I recommend that you start 15 minutes ahead of time so you don't get distracted. So by the time the greatest point of eclipse comes at 2:40 a.m., you are already in a deep connection with spirit. Remember, we haven't had an eclipse in June in 19 years. Don't miss this opportunity. The vortex is only open once in a while. See, what you need to understand, what makes eclipses so spiritually powerful and relevant, what makes the eclipse so spiritually powerful and relevant, during an eclipse, the sun, the moon, and the earth are in direct alignment with one another. During an eclipse, the sun, the moon, and the earth are in direct alignment. That's why eclipses are so powerful, because you have the sun, great divine African masculine energy. You have the sun. Shout out to all my Leos. Leo season is coming. Shout out to all my Leos. Leo season is coming. So you have the sun, great divine African masculine energy. You have the moon, great divine African feminine energy. And then you have the earth, the planet where we live, in perfect alignment. Do you see what's going on? Do you see what's going on? The mother, the father, and the child, which is us. The sun is the father, the moon is the mother, and we, the African children on earth, we are the children. That is the Trinity. That is the Trinity. When the sun, the moon, and the earth lines up, that is the Trinity. That is the synchronicity of Gemini. That is the riddle that we need to understand. The sun, moon, and child being earth. Let's continue. How should you behave during the fast? How should you behave? You should be humble. You should be quiet, mostly reflective, because remember, most of your day is going to be spent in spiritual activity. Most of your day is going to be spent in spiritual activity. Somebody fasting should not appear like somebody who's not fasting. You're not at the club. You're not playing cards. You're not on the corner smoking a blunt with the weed cipher. You're not doing none of that. You're calm. You're going within. You're only going to get out of this fast what you put into this fast. You're only going to get out of this fast what you put into this fast. And by the way, whoever is fasting, send me a text message, please. Text my phone if you're fasting. If you're going to do this with us, text my phone and just let me know who you are and where you at. Dr. Umar, my name is Brother Mike. I'm in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm going to do this fast with you, Doc. Okay? Just let me know. Okay? My name is Sister Shantae. I'm in Houston, Texas, Dr. Umar. I'm doing the fast with you. Text me. Just let me know. I'm fasting with you, name and location. I want to make sure I keep track of all of you around the world. I'm in Ghana. I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Birmingham, England. I'm in Luton, England. I'm in Montreal, Canada. I'm in Jamaica. I'm in Haiti. I'm in Cuba. Wherever you at. I'm in Brazil. Wherever. I'm in China. I'm in Australia. Dr. Umar, I'm fasting with you. And if you're in another country, message me using WhatsApp. If you're in another country, message me using WhatsApp. My number is 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. One more time. 215-989-9858. If you're going to be fasting, only serious people, if you're going to be fasting, text me sometime before 5:31 a.m. What time is it now? It's 2:14 p.m. So we have about 15 hours before the fast begins. Text me, Dr. Umar, I'm fasting. Me and my wife fasting. Me and my son fasting. We are going to do this, Dr. Umar. We need this for us. We need this for our people. We need God to reconnect to African people in a way that we've never had been because we've lost ourselves. And this is our way of reconnecting to the divine umbilical cord. We have lost ourselves. And this is our way of connecting to the divine umbilical cord. Okay? See, we giving up food and we replacing it with divine ashe. Our stomach is empty. And when you have food in your stomach, your energy gets diverted to the stomach to digest. With no food in your stomach, all of your ashe is available for spiritual activity. See, when you fast, there is no spiritual energy being redirected to your tummy to process your meal. So the whole 15 hours that you are fasting, you are vibrating at a higher level. You might feel physically tired, but you're spiritually energized. You might feel physically tired, but you're spiritually energized. You might feel physically tired, but you're spiritually energized. No food in the stomach means more energy for meditation, more energy for praying, more energy for chanting, for libation, for spiritual study, for personal reflection. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. I recommend that you build an ancestral altar. I recommend that you build an ancestral altar. I recommend that you build an ancestral altar. Okay? All you need is a table or a bookshelf or a little corner in your room